We often think about procrastination as something about the task itself, about the thing that we don't want to do, we don't want to get done. But often it's not about the task, it's more about how you're thinking about it. In order for you to beat procrastination, there's only 5 small little shifts that you need to make in your mindset, in your inner game. And once you make those little shifts and you understand to make those shifts conscious level, you can beat procrastination more often than not. Shift number 1. Allow yourself to be lazy. Allow yourself to have that time where you do nothing. Focus on that. Now, the key is this though, is you need to get the time that you do the task focused. Now, our attention span with the way the world is now is so short. There's so many things that are taking attention. So you've got to create an environment where you're not going to be distracted, but you know you can be lazy. Sometimes in the day that I consciously make sure that I have gaps in the day where I don't have any meetings, I don't do anything that allows me to do absolutely nothing. And be lazy if you like. I love to have a power nap during the day. That sort of 10, 15, 20 minute power nap allows me to reset. But one way to beat procrastination is know when you're going to be lazy. Know when you can take a break. Know when you have extended breaks. And when you have focused time, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes of focus time to get stuff done, it's amazing how the reward of that laziness is even more appealing. And actually you get stuff done more. And sometimes we think about working for 90 or 122 minute sprints, which is fine for some people, but in the majority of cases is that we need to work in small sections. Now you've got to work out what's the small section, what's the maximum amount of time that you can be focused and do deep work. Once you understand what works for you, you can then focus on where you be lazy. Now, how do you know what works for you? Test and measure. So start off by focus 10 minutes. Focus 10 minutes, see how you feel. But this is the key, is you've got to be agile within the rigidity. So let's say you focus for 15 minutes on a task. So you get down to the task, get all the distractions out of the way, and start the task and put a timer on 15 minutes. And when you get to 15 minutes, if you feel you're in flow, carry on until you feel like you're not in flow. Because sometimes when you're in flow, time stands still, you get more stuff done. And what you don't want to do is punish yourself for thinking, actually I'm in flow here, but I've set myself 15 minutes. Go with it. If you get to 15 minutes and you feel done, then stop. It's amazing that when you have that mindset of being structured in your focus time, but also being agile enough to say, if I feel in flow, I want to carry on for a few more minutes. And it's amazing how much you get more done when you're in that flow. But create the environment that allows you to be in flow by being lazy and celebrate the fact that you're going to get stuff done. Because when you know you're doing nothing, it allows you to say, right, actually I need to work for this period of time. And when you work for that period of time, you get more done. Shift number 2. Shift number 2 in terms of your mindset is understanding what's important to you, your values. Our values are our anchor. It's what defines us in the world. So it's the values that are important to you when no one is looking. So just be your word. Who do you want to be in the world? Who do you want to be for yourself? So know the difference when you're procrastinating, when you're planning. So when you wake up in the day and you've got certain tasks done, and this is where my micro goals formula, where we set only 3 micro goals a day, really works well. Because what you're not doing is you're not setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for success. And the one way you set yourself up for success by avoiding procrastination is saying, okay, what's important to me? What are my values? And keeping the word to yourself. And we live in a world now where it's surprising when somebody keeps their word for you. Because we've got Tourette's of excuses. I was busy, I was this, I got called away, and priorities change. But one level of self-discipline that can work for you to beat procrastination is to keep the word to yourself. So if you commit to doing a task in a certain day, then commit to it and get it done. But don't set yourself up for failure where you commit to 5, 6, 10, 15 tasks, knowing physically, energy-wise, and motivation-wise, you might not be able to do it. So set yourself 3 key tasks, and set yourself 3 key tasks that based on your value system, you're going to get done. And when you make that shift in your mindset to make sure that I'm going to keep my word, it's amazing you get stuff done. Shift number 3 in terms of your mindset, and this is a bit tough. No one is out there who's going to save you. You're the only one who can save yourself. And you save yourself by being disciplined and saying, okay, when you know you're procrastinating, is analyze why that is and have a self-awareness and having a conversation. Why am I procrastinating? And when you ask that question, as opposed to, I'm a procrastinator, I always put things off, I really haven't got the motivation, is just to have a bit of tough love with yourself and have the conversation. Who am I being in this moment by not getting this task done? And actually, you might not feel like it, which is fine. But what you want to do is create a pattern where only 20% of the time you allow the procrastination to beat you. But the majority of the time, 80% of the time, you're having that conversation with yourself, giving yourself a bit of tough love and saying, actually, no one is going to save me. So if I really want to get the result I want, whatever that is, I've got to get this task done. And shift your mindset for thinking, actually, stop being a victim, stop feeling sorry for yourself, and actually, it's only me who's going to get stuff done, and I'll need to do it. And when you have that awareness more and more and more, it's amazing how you actually reward yourself and you thank yourself for giving yourself that tough love. And that sort of self-discipline increases the comfort zone. Do you know what happens? The really unintentional consequence, the compounding effect of being hard on yourself, it gets easier. You procrastinate less because you realize the dopamine effect of the reward of getting the task done feels good, and you want more of that, and you go after that. So the level of your procrastination reduces when you're more tough on yourself and you don't act like a victim. Shift number 4 is know the difference when you're planning and procrastinating. So get this right. The key fundamental difference between whether you're planning and you're contemplating and you're sort of thinking about it is when you're planning, you know what the end game is. So what you're focused on is working out the steps and the milestone. When you procrastinate, often you're not clear about the end game. So before you need to start a task, ask yourself, what is the end game here? What's the thing I'm looking for? You detach yourself emotionally from the end game, but you know what the end game is. It's a bit like when I talk about in sport about knowing what good looks like. Know what good looks like, because if you know what good looks like, the steps you got to do to get there become easier to do. And we often procrastinate. We're not clear about the end game. We're not clear about the vision at the end. And when you're clear about the vision, procrastination often stops because you're right, actually, I need to take this step and this step and this step. Now, some steps might be easier than others, which I get. Because you know what you're aiming for, the start of the task and getting going becomes easier. Getting going becomes harder when you don't know the end game. So shift your mindset to understand, well, do I have a clear vision on what I'm aiming for? If you do, you're often going to reduce the chance of procrastination and get things done. Shift number 5 is about celebrating success. So this is sort of the polar opposite of being tough on yourself, tough love. Here is actually say to yourself, well, how am I going to reward myself when I get this thing done? And give yourself that hit. And it could be really small. It could be, in essence, a certain food that you want. It might be rewarding yourself with a purchase. Whatever it is, celebrate the success of getting something done. It doesn't have to be big, but have the notion of rewarding yourself. We beat ourselves up too much. And when we beat ourselves up too much, we don't feel good. We don't feel good, we're not productive. We're not productive, things don't happen. And when we celebrate ourselves, not from an arrogant point of view, but just be humbling and reward yourself, we just feel better. And when we feel better, stuff gets done, and it's all connected. So when you look at all the 5 different mind shifts for 1 in terms of scheduling lazy time so you get focus, understanding the second mindset of being valuable to your word and having who am I being in this moment, understanding the third mind shift in terms of being tough on yourself and saying, actually, how am I being disciplined around this to get stuff done? And then that leads on to naturally where you know the difference between planning and procrastination. And when you know the difference and have a clear vision, you get stuff done. And finally, celebrating. And when you put those minutiae little shifts in mindset, the level of the amount of you procrastinate will start to reduce, and you'll get into a momentum. And because you're much more clear about yourself. And when you often find people who procrastinate a lot, if you find yourself in moments where you procrastinate a lot, is one or all of those 5 things are not present. So to finish up, when we understand the nuances of what's going on in your brain and your mindset when we are procrastinating, it's easy to deal with those. And when you deal with each of those shifts, you naturally increase motivation. And when you increase motivation, that in itself creates a compound effect where the next time you're confronted with a task that you potentially might procrastinate on, you won't, and you'll get into action. I hope that helps.